It isn't 5 minutes long. Welcome everybody for being here. Would you guys like to take a seat, or you prefer to stand? Whatever is comfortable for you. We are glad that you're here. We may have some people trail in. This is a different location for us. Normally, we're at the Baca Center. So we wanted to be here where the fire engines are next door at the Firehouse Museum, because that's part of Rolla's presentation. I'm Judy Anderson, the current president of Round Rock Preservation. Shirley Marquette is right here. She is the founder of our organization and former president. Ann Dar on our registration table, and her husband Frank, I guess he's outside, and Lily, and where'd Lauren go, from the planning department, from Historic Preservation, and then the chairperson of the Historic Preservation Commission for the city, Sharon Whitaker, just came in. So that's who we are, and we present these programs in conjunction with the city, with the Historic Preservation Office with the city. And particularly, I want to introduce the fire chief who is with us today, Shane, and half of the fire department, I think. And we want to tell all of you how much we appreciate everything that you do for us as citizens and the city of Round Rock. You're wonderful. I went through the university program not too long ago and had the best time when it was the fire department's turn to do that. And those of you in the audience, if you have not done that, I encourage you to do that. It's really great. I was even talked into climbing up into that bucket and going up, and I really have a fear of heights, so that was an experience. Let's see, who else? Cindy, where did Cindy go? There you are. Cindy is the administrative support assistant and is Shane's right hand, I think.
Yes.
And I didn't meet you when you came in. Your wife. We're glad that all of you are here, and again, we appreciate everything that you all do for us. And Cherie Smith, if you'll raise your hand, Emergency Management Coordinator for the city. We have lots of good representation from the city today, and appreciate that. Did I miss anyone? I'm going to introduce Rolla now. Our speaker is Rolla McCrary, and we have been working on this presentation for several months. He has been wonderful to work with and has such great historical information about the Round Rock Volunteer Fire Department. Give you a little bit of information about him if you don't know Rolla. He grew up in a small town in the state of New York, and they had an all-volunteer fire department. What that did for him was to recognize that a person could have a career as well as fight fires, and obviously that was a passion of his. Then he served in the Navy for 4 years before he embarked on his career in mechanical engineering. He worked for some major companies that you'll recognize: National Cash Register, Texas Instruments, Dresser Wayne, General Electric, and Dell Computer. That's probably what landed you here in Round Rock.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. And then, in addition, volunteer fire services where he has served are in Belmont, New York, Colchester, Vermont, McKinney, Texas, Travis County Fire Control, and our Round Rock department. And all of those have benefited from his dedication to volunteer firefighting. 1986 saw the beginning of his involvement with the Round Rock Volunteer Fire Department as a volunteer, serving until the department was dissolved in 2007. And he'll give you the history of that. It's very interesting. And in those volunteer capacities. He was a fire lieutenant, a captain, training officer, and a medical officer. So he made the whole cycle as a volunteer firefighter. And then after that retirement, he became active in the Firehouse Museum. He started digging into the role that the fire department had in Round Rock and the rich history that it has. And we will benefit this morning from all the research that he has done and the dedication that he has for the Round Rock Fire Department. And again, we appreciate all of you, all that you do, keeping us safe, and really, they do things that we don't even think that people in the fire department would do. So we really do owe them a huge hand, and thank you and gratitude. Let me just give you a brief update on historic preservation activities. Right now, we are very close for the Stagecoach Inn that was moved in 2018 from Hilltop on the south side of 620 for that to be completed. The inside looks almost complete. It's going to be beautiful inside. Not at all that I remember as a child when my grandparents lived there, but it will be a beautiful facility for us to be able to use. And we will be having a grand opening, the commemorative brick display. Some of you might have bought those bricks early on as a fundraiser that we had. Those are in place behind the Stagecoach Inn, and we will be having a big event in October. The date is not set yet in stone, but that will be in October, and we'll be letting everybody know. That's one of the reasons we'd like you to sign in, so we have contact information for you to let you know about these activities. And I think that's it. That I could go on with all the activities that we're doing, but I'm not going to do that and take away from Rolla's time. So are you ready to begin, Mr. McCrary?
I sure hope so.
All right.
Just a little side note here. Volunteer firefighters. There are 23,957 volunteer firefighters in Texas alone. 76% of Texas is covered by partial or complete volunteer fire departments. And 87% of America is protected by volunteer firefighters. Chances are, if you are out on the highway and have a need, a volunteer is going to be the one helping you. Not to put the career down, you know, but there's a lot of us out there. Okay, 1846 found the beginning of Round Rock at what is now Chisholm Trail 620 area, and you can read as well as I can what's going on there. But it was a good location. Chisholm Trail went through there with the cattle drive, the stagecoaches going through that area, so it made sense. And they were there for quite a while. And around 1851, 1854, they started getting mail there, and the post office is delivered to a place called Brushy Creek. Well, there's another Brushy Creek in Texas. They couldn't have two of them, they didn't know which one to take it to, so they asked us to change the name. They changed it to Round Rock, and here we are today. Now, the railroad came in 1876, which is running just a little bit past on the other side of downtown, south side of downtown. And they thought, well, it'd be a good idea to move, be close to the railroad, so they established Newtown, which is we now recognize being downtown Round Rock. It was close to the railroad tracks. And, it turned out to be a good move. Round Rock has prospered from it. In 1879 found the need maybe of a fire department. Downtown burnt down. And part of the reconstruction effort they had in downtown after that fire was had all the new buildings had the roof slanted to the rear. when they first started down there, they didn't have enough water, and that's why it burned. So they had the roof slant to the rear, and they put cisterns in the back of the stores to catch the rainwater, and that became the water source for the fire department. And it worked out quite well. Now in '83, the Greenwood Masonic Academy burned down, and they said, okay, we do need a fire department. They started a year of fundraising and political efforts and what have you. And by 1884, Round Rock volunteers started protecting Round Rock. The fire district we had starts at 110 going towards Hutto, the county line on 620 to the west, Westinghouse Road to the north, if I'm not wrong, and the county line on the south. That's pretty good territory. In 1890, we bought this hand pumper, we believe from the city of Austin, and this served us here in Round Rock until about 1923. The way this operated, and we'll get into it maybe a little bit later here, is it would be pulled by hand by the firefighters from the fire station to wherever the fire was. There's two handles on either side that would pump like a teeter-totter, and the water supply was the cisterns in the back of the building. And that was, as I say, in use till about 1923 here in town. This picture was taken in front of the Main Street Library, which I understand is undergoing renovation at this time. Another place that we had a fire station is where the water tower is downtown. That was at one point a fire station location, and there's been others around town. I probably can't keep track of every one that they have. But this one you'll probably recognize. Or maybe if you see it this way, you better recognize it. And that was in use until the late 70s. And by 1980, it became the library when they converted the fire station. Now, 1941, the guys went off to fight in World War II, and the girls, I understand, came in behind and became the fire department, basically, while the men were off at war. And after the guys came back in '46, they said, okay, we'll take over. And the girls said, no, not so fast. They formed a ladies' pumper team. And they were running around the state doing pumper team races, and I'll get into that in a minute. And they were active up to about 1971 here in the city as an organization. Now what it consists of is they start at a given location with a fire hydrant. They drive a truck down the street laying a supply line. They drag an attack line off of the truck. And the team with the fastest time to get water flowing and have the attack line hit a target wins the race. They did pretty good. This is a picture of some of the girls that were in there. I think the last of them is no longer with us, but they were around until '71. And this is them competing up in Dallas. So they took what we'll see as Engine 1 and ran around the state doing pumper team races. In 1975, our Western District started growing up, so we moved up, we called Engine 2 to the Western District, and that formed the Jollyville Fire Company of the Round Rock Volunteers. And they continue today. They're now their own department over there. And let's see, enough of that, 1978, we hired our first career firefighter, Lynn Bizzle. He became chief, and at the time he became chief, he was the youngest person to be a fire chief in Texas. Lynn stayed with us until 2004, and he currently is a fire chief in Fredericksburg. between his leaving Round Rock and getting over there, I believe he also worked at Texas A&M as an instructor. I'm sure he did a couple other things in there, but he's always stayed in the fire service. In 1980, we had another growth spurt, so we moved engine 2 again. Bear in mind, this is a 1943 fire truck. We're up to 1980, and we're still using it. It was moved over to a place called Brushy Creek. We formed the Sandbass Volunteer Fire Company, the Round Rock Volunteer Fire Company. And they kept it until about 1985 in service, 85, 88, someplace in there, when it finally got retired. So the thing had over 40 years in service. Now, at that 1980, we had a career fire chief, the volunteers had a fire chief, and each fire company had a volunteer captain. So that was our organization in 1980. In 1991, we celebrated the 50th anniversary for our pumper team. Some of the ladies are still here to help us celebrate. See how we're doing. We're doing good on time. In 2007, the city had grown to the point that volunteers ceased to have territory. Well, we gave our territory to the city. They could do a better job than we could. I believe at that time we had, I think 4 or 5 fire stations in town, 5. And they could cover it a lot better than we could. And I believe we're up to, what is it, 9 now?
Yes, we're up to 9.
We're up to 9 fire stations at this point in time in Round Rock. And I believe they've got plans on the board for up to 12.
Yes, 12 to 13.
Excuse me?
12 to 13.
So, Round Rock has grown. Now, the old apparatus, an 1884 hand pumper, talked a little bit about it. It was purchased as a seasoned apparatus, we believe from Austin. We used it until 1923. And after that, it got stored at various locations. When I joined in '86, it was used as a coat rack in Central. And we got with the city and got an agreement, they would fund it, and we would get it restored. We sent it out to a wagon master in Fredericksburg who did the main body of it. The fire pump was restored by a fire pump operator in Ohio, and the wheels were restored by a wheelwright in Oklahoma. And we now have it on display. And we could fight fire with it. It was restored to that level. Engine 1 is a 38 Ford. It was the first new fire truck, motorized fire truck Round Rock ever bought. The chassis was bought here in town and was sent out to be turned into a fire truck. I figure it came back about 1941, around someplace in that area. And we used that up to about 1973 to fight fire here in town. It is now retired and doing parade duty. And the girls also use that as their bumper team. I talked over the slide. I should have brought that slide up. Okay. Here we go. Engine 2. That one has the most unique history. Notice I say 43, 46. In 1943, it started life as a military fire truck. After World War II, they put it on the auction block and we bought it. Now, at the time we bought it, the fire department didn't have all the money it needed. So, the fire department and the city put up about half, and one of our members put up half, and bought it and we used it. Now, here in town it stayed until 75, then went to Anderson Mill, it stayed until 80, and then in 80 it went to Brushy Creek, and it stayed there until about 88, where it was retired and sold. Later on, one of our old members said, "Hey, where's engine 2?" We said, "Oh, not sure, we'll ask Sam Bass." And Sam Bass said, "Oh, we sold it." "Who'd you sell it to?" And they started chasing it. We found it in Bertram, brought it back, and that member restored it to where we could fight fire with it today. and that's next door. And this basically is going to conclude the slide part of this show. As I said, we were here until 2007, then the career firefighters took over. And I think us volunteers that are still left have pretty good rapport with the career. And beyond that, I'm going to say, who has what questions? I'll be glad to field what I can, and if I can't, maybe some of the career guys can help me out. So, please, any questions you've got, I'll be glad to try and answer. Yes?
Do you remember the cost of engine 2?
We believe engine 2 is around $3,000 at the time.
Chief, what does it cost now?
I believe they're hitting pretty close to the $1 million mark.
1.2 million.
That's what I thought.
All right. No, that's just a truck. We're not talking about the stuff that goes on it. You probably have, what, another $500,000 you get on that stuff?
$150,000, $160,000.
Then you got to pay people beyond that.
Yes.
And we have 9 fire stations, 9 fire engines.
There's a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
So remind me, when did the career move in? I mean,
Our first career firefighter was Lynn Bizzle in 1980. And what was happening is Round Rock was becoming a bedroom community. People were working in Austin and sleeping here. So during the day, it got hard, so we needed somebody to help us out during the day. And eventually, okay, we got 1, we got 2, we got that, and okay, they wanted to form their own career department and not be under the volunteer umbrella, so to speak.
Chief Berg, when you start. I'm just going to make a bit of a correction. Bruce Watson was the first paid firefighter.
Was he?
And
Okay.
I was the second. Lynn Bizzle, Richard Bunty, Mark Klaus, Wayne Freeman came on shortly after. Same year.
So, okay, now there's a correction I put into this. And we had a very good relationship. Our equipment was stored at the stations. The city did our maintenance for us on the trucks. And we would back each other up. The city had a major call. The volunteers would go in, they'd backfill the station or put manpower on the scene for them. And if we have a major call, we'd go, hey, city, come on out and help us. You know, very good working relationship between the two. Yes.
Well, I'm F.B. Lilly. I was the president also. I think there is another fire truck that the volunteers had. It was a Chevy and a 1,000-gallon tank on it. It started, we sold it or gave it to the Weir Volunteer Fire Department quite some time ago.
You talking about
Talking
27?
about Bruce truck?
No, it's large.
You talking about 27?
Yeah, or tanker 27.
Tanker 25, yeah. That,
Or, I forget, we purchased it in 86 or 84.
yeah, that would have been the FMC engine 27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, I guess the point I want to make is this Round Rock Volunteer Fire Department has shared a lot of its equipment and expertise from the beginning.
That we have.
From Chief Clarence, became the first Austin paid fire chief onward.
I'm glad you made it up, Pete. I haven't seen you for a while.
So
Yes.
what was the largest number of volunteers that you had in any one year?
Ooh, we usually, the largest we got was probably around 40 to 50, someplace in there. But it
In
would,
adjoint, there was 50 to 75 people on the roster.
but
Early
it
80s.
would, yeah, it would go up and down. And the weird thing is, even with the big numbers, I'd say there was what I'd call the dirty dozen. You can count on them every time an alarm went out. If they were here, they went. And the others, what can I say? It's volunteer.
Rolla.
Yes.
So we carry radios now to let us know when there's a call. Can you talk about how that's evolved over the years, how they would call the firemen out in the 1880s up until the volunteers were?
Sure. Originally, because Round Rock was a very small community, when the alarm went out for a fire, they'd have a fire bell they would ring, or a fire siren, wake up the whole town, and the firemen would know that there was a fire, and they go to the fire station, get the equipment, and run out. They also had fire phones around the fire department, like the chief, assistant chief, people like this would have a fire phone in their house, and the operator would call their number and say, hey, we got a fire. And that's another way these people got to know it was. We had fire sirens at the fire station that the first guy there would start the fire siren going, electronic siren. That would also let people know. We progressed to the old text pagers, where you go in, you type in the message and it gets on your bell rings, okay. It would come out and tell us we had a fire, and we go to the fire station and get it. Then we went to just radio receivers that were tone activated. And Round Rock had what I'd call the base tone, and it would set off all of their pagers, and then the person at the other end of the two-way radio would get on the mic and say, you've got a fire at blah, blah, blah. The volunteers had the bass tone and a little bit higher tone, and it would set off our pagers. And then Jollyville had the same bass tone and a little bit higher tone yet, and it would set their pagers off. And Sam Bass had the bass tone and a higher tone yet, and it would set their pagers off. When I first joined, I didn't have one of those, so I got me one of these scanners. And I'd have it on, and the bass tone would go off, I'd sleep through it. Sam Bass would go off, I'd sleep through it. Jollyville would go off, I'd sleep through it. Ours would go off, I'd wake up. My wife woke up on every darn one of them. So, anyhow, and now the fire stations, basically every station, I believe, has a tone that is their tone. The guys will listen to it, and they'll know when that tone comes down, okay, stand by, we've got a call coming in. And dispatch will get over and tell the engine company what they have. You have medical, fire, whatever type of call it is to the address. And what, military anything out there over the years?
I had heard a rumor one time, a long time ago, an old revolver downtown that would shoot up in the air
That could be.
3 times.
So it was a 44 caliber pistol. They would shoot it. To get the officers to know they had to come in and have a meeting, they shot it 3 times in the air, and then for an all hands, they would just unload it in the air, and they replaced it with a bell there at that first fire station that's under the water tower. After many to-dos about.
And that bell, for a while, lived in front of the library downtown. I understand it's up at the training academy now.
Yes, sir.
Rolla,
Yes,
there
sir.
was also a siren
Yeah, I thought
at the old
it
fire
was
station that would go off and would scare the heck out of you. Could he
Yeah.
think it was an air raid or something?
Yeah, there were loud sirens. They could wake up the whole damn town.
Is there a couple things that you might want to look into for your future presentations?
Sure.
That I just have found interesting with the history. That first of all, the 44 caliber pistol, I think is pretty wild. That screams Texas.
Believe me, this is a living thing. I just...
Yeah, and I'd love to share this with you, and you can put it in your next presentation. But the Sam Bass, after his shootout in 1878, the fire department had occupied for storage for their hand pumper and wagon cart that one-story shack underneath where the water tower sits now. And after they chased him out of town, he was shot. They caught up with him west and brought him back into town. He died in a one-room shack underneath where the water tower is now. So Sam Bass probably died in the first Red Rock Fire Station. So not many people make that connection because you got to read those histories separately. And I found my looking up stuff, the first, and probably the engine one, I guess, because the 100 block of East Georgetown at the time, which is now Main Street, had burned, and the Round Rock Motor Company was located in there back in 20s or 30s. And they donated a Model T to the fire department. I don't know if they use that as just like a little like pumper or whatever, but what I was told was it became the first motorized apparatus for the volunteers.
Sir, what I heard is it was where the photography studio there on Mays, it used to be a 7-Eleven.
Okay.
And we used to call that Mickey's 7-Eleven because that's where he worked when he joined. There was a farmer that lived behind there that donated that Model T.
Okay.
And they did kind of the same thing that Florence did, is they took their chemical rig and they put it in the Model T.
That makes more sense. I like that.
Okay?
We'll go with this
When
for
he
later.
heard the bell ring, because everybody thinks the hand pumper was horse-drawn, which it wasn't.
No,
But what he would do when he heard the bell ring is he would harness his plow horse, ride it to the station. If the Model T didn't start, he would tow it to the scene. Because the 32 Chevy that we have next door is the Florence Fire Department, their first piece of apparatus was a hand-drawn chemical wagon. And they did the same thing. When they bought the truck, they took the chemical rig out of the wagon, they put it in the truck.
That's cool.
That's a real common thing for fire departments from the early 1900s.
That's awesome. And the story I got with the girls' pumper team was the chief had gone and recruited them from the high school softball team. Was that sound about accurate?
I wouldn't put it past them.
So do you have a picture of the original firehouse that exists where the?
I don't. No. So they tore that down and put a two-story in its place before they moved to where the library is, because that was a city hall / fire department until the library took that building over. So I don't have pictures of either. I wish I had a picture of the person shooting the 44 caliber pistol.
So, if nothing else, we're going to open up next door and you know, to go over and take a look at what we saved over the years. Judy?
Yeah, before we do that, we have a certificate here for you in appreciation for your time doing this. Let me read this if I may, if I can. Rolla McCrary is recognized for his contributions to the Round Rock Volunteer Fire Department and the City of Round Rock. As a volunteer firefighter, he served our city from 1986 until the volunteer fire department was dissolved in 2007. He then became active in the Firehouse Museum and began exploring the role and impact the fire department had in Round Rock and its rich history. Round Rock Preservation and the City of Round Rock Historic Preservation Office, thank you for presenting in our August 2024 Discovering Round Rock History Program.
Thank you. Well, you two, come on, you gotta stick in here, Judy.
All right. Turn it on. I take two in case Judy decides.
I do that for fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
You would do the drawing.
Yeah, we're going to do that in just a minute. We do these history programs normally every quarter of the year. And like I said earlier, typically at the Baca Center. Our next program will be October the 22nd. And we will have Ricky Strayhorn and, I just lost his name, the other arborist with
Robertson.
and they will be talking about monarch trees and what designation, how a tree becomes a monarch tree, as well as when developments come into Round Rock and clear trees off of the property, what the developer has to do to replace those trees. They have to plant more than what they take off of the property. I think it'll be a real interesting program. So try to plan to be with us on October 22nd. And his name will come to me in a minute. I just communicated with him this morning. Let's see. Next we do a raffle drawing, and let me say, a lot of you came in and didn't sign in and get a raffle ticket. So do we need to give you a minute to get a ticket? Who doesn't have one? Ann will help you out. Okay. You need two of them? Yes.